वन्दे देवमुमापतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणं वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृगमदं वन्दे पशूनां पतिं वन्दे सूर्यशशाङ्कवह्निनयनं वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम्. I chant and you repeat, keeping the meaning of each word in your mind. Brahmamurarisurarchitalingam nirmalabhasita shobhitalingam. Brahmamurarisurarchitalingam nirmalabhasita shobhitalingam. Janmaja-dukha-vinashakalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Janmaja-dukha-vinashanalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Devamunipravararchitalingam kamadaham karunakaralingam. Devamunipravararchitalingam kamadaham karunakaralingam. Ravanadarpavinashanalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Ravanadarpavinashanalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Together. Brahmamurarisurarchitalingam nirmalabhasita shobhitalingam. Janmaja-dukha-vinashakalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Devamunipravararchitalingam kamadaham karunakaralingam. Ravanadarpavinashanalingam tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. Tat-pranamami Sadashivalingam. We have been seeing Lingashtakam, and here this beautiful form of the Lord as a Sadashiva Linga, as a linga representing the Lord as eternal, auspicious, cosmic being. And here in the second verse we saw how the Devas and the Munis, the celestial beings and the sages who are also in their celestial bodies, when the higher worlds are also worshipping the Lord, by offering the divine names, by consenting, by following the order of the universe. And if someone did not, if somebody violated the order, like the God of love, the God of lust, the God of passion, when he forcefully tried to disturb Lord Shiva, who was reveling, absorbed in his own glory as an infinite being, it's like that child who asked, Dad, we worship, when we close our eyes and sit, we are worshipping God, right? And Dad said, yes, right, son. But if God himself sits with eyes closed, meditating, whom is he worshipping? Maybe a child's question, but we must know how to answer, because there is a truth in that. God doesn't need to worship anybody else because he is the infinite being. Then why does he meditate? Well, he is not meditating upon something outside of himself. He is, we say, reveling in his own glory. When the divine being is revealed, shown with eyes closed in a meditative posture, which is the Yoga Murti of Lord Shiva, we must understand we are showing the divine being as independent of even any of the laws of the universe. He is one who stands, revels in his own effulgence. The stars, the moon, they exist because of the reflected light of the sun. But the effulgence of the sun doesn't emerge from something else. Sun stands in its own glory. It is self-effulgent in the relative world. And here the Lord is reveling in his own glory. And so that divine being, when the lower power tries to interfere with the higher power, like God of love, trying to disturb Lord Shiva, it's very symbolic. Will it succeed? When human beings try to disturb the ways of nature, are we going to succeed? If we think we are going to succeed, well, that is the ego that first needs to be crushed. We need to be humbled to understand that nature has the last laugh. Nature has the last word, is it not? And so when the lower power, the God of love, tried to disturb this self-reveling posture, the self-effulgent posture of the cosmic being, what happened? Well, that desire, that lust, that passion did not snowball and overwhelm the truth, the essence. In fact, it is that truth, that essence that burnt that power of lust or desire down to ashes. It's very symbolic. Kamadaha Shiva is a very powerful message for us in itself. And so he has no right to violate the law. Remember the other law we did in the other text, where even though it was law that Markandeya, the young lad of 16 years, the beautiful, noble, dharmic devotee of Lord Shiva, it was law that he would die at the age of 16th year, when he enters the 16th year. And by law, when Lord Yama came to take him, because he had taken refuge in Lord Shiva, because he held Lord Shiva, and once the cosmic being is held by you, is owned up by you, is drawn into your heart by you, then even those lower powers cannot touch you, And if it pushes itself, then the Lord will punish even that higher power which is lower than the divine. This is the way the system works. And therefore prayers, taking refuge in the Lord, is our only way out. Because having violated, now where do we go? We are seeing the consequences, and so we take refuge and seek what? What can be done now? The law is already taken effect. No. It can be, its intensity will be reduced, diluted, nullified even, if only we trust our prayers, the power of our prayers. Prayers not of one or two people, prayers of humanity at large, because it is we as a human family that needs to pray. And therefore Kamadaham, Lord of love, was destroyed, was burnt to ashes, but then when his spouses appealed to the Lord, prayed to the Lord to help, he is a Karuna Murti. He is a being of compassion, of love. That is his natural state. And therefore, what happens? Well, he revives. That God of love is revived. And so here, Karuna Karalingam, Karunam Karoti iti Karuna Karaha. So this form is a form of Karuna, of compassion. Of compassion. You know, we say beings who are awakened, really awakened to their higher nature, you know where they live, what is their dwelling place, where does their ego or their individuality sit? It is said Karuna. Their dwelling place of enlightened beings, awakened beings, is in Karuna, in compassion. Compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is, you know, when the right hand is injured, the left hand takes care of it. Sometimes it's very interesting. In your own body, mind, sense complex, you find that you yourself injure yourself. Don't you do that? I remember when I was younger, we always, I don't know how we managed to do this, but sometimes you bite your own tongue. Have you ever done that? I have done that, I know. And that biting your tongue is such an intense experience. Really, either you should pull out the teeth and throw it out, or pull out the tongue and throw it out. One of them is interfering with the other. And who has to deal with the pain? You. But what do you do instead? You hold the tooth and you hold the tongue. You hold both, don't you? This is called compassion. I don't know how else to explain compassion. You connect with the pain of the tongue, and you forgive the mistake of the teeth simultaneously. In other words, you empathize with the tongue and you forgive the teeth. Don't you do that? How could you do these two things when you are the one who suffered the pain? Well, because you did it. Nobody else did this. You can't blame your spouse, your partner, or your child. It is I who caused the pain. And therefore, I release myself from the pain by holding both. Well, that is the form of compassion, the power, the emotion of compassion. And so humanity's appeal to the Lord is, well, we have made the mistakes. We have violated nature. We have done so many things out of line. But be compassionate. Please help us ride the pain and heal us. Hey, you are the one causing the pain. Well, heal us so that we don't cause the pain anymore to ourselves or anybody else. We need your compassion because we can't handle this pain anymore. And therefore relieve us from the pain. After all, you are the one, the maker of the laws of karmic laws. You are the maker. And so you can modify the way you wish. Let our prayers bear fruit in showing us that you have changed something, you have shown your miracle and taken this painful period away for humanity. You may ask, why should it be taken away? It has just begun. Well, because I have learnt my lesson. If humanity says, I have learnt my lesson, a miracle will happen just like that. But if we have not learnt our lesson, then some of us are going to continue to pay for our consequences, experience these consequences. And so it is said, Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam. Ravana was a very, very powerful king in the ancient times. And so powerful. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Great Shiva Bhakta. He could go to any length in doing penance for appeasing Lord Shiva's grace, blessings. But even though he was the great grandchild of Brahmaji, creator himself, he always was inclined to asura behavior, demonic behavior. And the demonic behavior means he wanted power, more and more power. And so he would appease this and that and all the higher deities until he even began to appease Lord Shiva with his devotion and penance. To do what? To acquire more power. So that he could rule the universe. What's wrong in that? Nothing wrong. As long as the universe you rule in keeping with the universal dharma. But Ravana had other agenda. He had a big ego. His power had gone into his head. And therefore there was no violation that he did not engage himself in. He violated the sages, the rishis. He didn't allow any sages to do penance because he didn't want any of them to become more powerful than him. Remember, in this mythology, even the demonic people, the Asura Shakti, the negative forces also recognize its higher power, which is the benign, neutral, cosmic power. The benign power is a witnessing power, which doesn't take sides. The power of the infinite, don't just say it is good power. Then you will have to create a devil, which will be an opposite power, different from the good power. You will end up having two powers. And God will always have to contend with the devil. There is no vertical divide between good and evil. The infinite, when we say the omniscient infinite being, it is impersonal. It is a witness. It is uninvolved, like space, uninvolved with the air pollution. It is of the form of infinite light. And it is that power which is above the good and bad, which accommodates both good and bad. It holds both as the law of opposites of the nature. It holds both. It holds dharma and adharma. It holds right and wrong. It holds both because the world, the relative worlds, nature of the relative world is the nature of opposites. If there is a tall, there will be a short. If there is a dark, there will be a light. If there is a front, there will be a back. If there is a east, there will be a west. If there is a good, there will be a bad. If there is dharma, there will be a dharma. And what is the divine being? The infinite is that which holds both. All we know in this world is conventional dharma. The dharma of moral opposites, which is the dharma of the social justice of the human society. You do right, you're rewarded. You do wrong, you're punished. This is the local dharma, the social justice, the social order of the human civilization. But in the universal order, moral order of the universe is above the moral opposites. The moral order of the universe is above moral opposites, and this means it includes the right and the wrong. It gives, there is a room for the wrong to exist as much as there is room for the right to exist. There is room for the dark to exist as much as there is room for the light to exist. That is the relative nature of the planet, the universe, the manifestation. But the infinite is above the moral opposites. The infinite, when you say the omniscient being, holds both. Holds both. And so when if there is alignment with the universal order, the consequences are harmonious, smooth. When there is lack of alignment in our choices and goes against the moral order, then the consequences are challenging, are rough, are hurtful, because we have hurt the system, and so the system has its impact from where the hurt started. And so Ravana was that demonic power that behaved good. It knew penance. It knew the system, the cosmic system. He knew how to earn bigger powers from the cosmic being, but he utilized it to hurt the system. Why? Because he wanted to be the most powerful. And therefore he violated He violated kingdoms, lands, kings, rishis, sages. And some of his worst violations were violating women. Women, forcibly taking them when they were afraid of him, they didn't want to be near him. He forced himself upon anything and everything and everyone. No one could go against Ravana. That ego. What happened to that Ravana? Was he protected by Lord Shiva all the way? No. Ravana Darpa Vinashanalingam. His ego had become so big that when he was doing penance in Kailash, Mount Kailash, he went there to the Himalayas. Even the demonic powers used to go to the Himalayas to do penance. What to talk of the kings and the noble kings and the sages and the seekers. So Ravana goes to Mount Kailash to do his penance. And Lord Shiva is pleased with his penance. And he gains so much power that now he is ready to go back to his home, his kingdom, which was again not his kingdom. It was usurped by him from his own brother Kubera, the god of wealth. He usurps the kingdom of his brother, another power, the god of wealth. And when he wants to take Shiva himself, he decides why he should be in Himalayas. I think he should be next to me. Let me take that power to my abode. And that is when Lord Shiva teaches him a lesson. He tries to lift the very Mount Kailash. All that the power does is just press his little toe down, and Ravana is crushed, he is suffocating. He is unable to lift, not only unable to lift the Mount Kailash, he is unable to hold his life because he has been pressed down by the big toe of Lord Shiva. Because Ravana always tends to violate dharma, the moral order of the universe. So Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam. And so understand, in all this, we understand one thing, that desires are okay to fulfill as long as they are benign and they don't hurt another life form. Ego is okay to have. Your individuality, your life as an individual is a natural process as long as this ego does not try to overpower. As long as the ego does not disrespect, disregard the existence of other life forms and their egos too. If we begin to violate others' integrity, others' dignity of any life form is held high when you allow that life form to live its life as it's meant to be. If you don't allow that life form to live its life the way nature has ordained, then understand we are violating the dignity of that particular life form. And it gets worse and worse when human beings violate other human beings too, is it not? If that happens, and it happens collectively, if that happens as a civilization, understand how huge the human ego has become. Is it not time for its annihilation? If we become Ravanas, it is time for divine being to annihilate this ego and bring us down to our knees. Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam, O Lord, you are that power. I concede to your power, I surrender to your power. Tat pranamami sada Shiva Lingam. Unto that power, my salutation, who is in the form of the eternal, auspicious Lingam. Let us chant together one more time the second verse. Deva Mune Pravararchita Lingam Kamadaham Karunakara Lingam Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam Deva Mune Pravararchita Lingam Kamadaham Karunakara Lingam Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shiva Lingam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.